Hello everyone, and welcome back to a new episode of Prismata. Let's jump in the queue and see who we can find. Meanwhile, one game live, we might as well watch the system versus main GI. There seems to be an asymmetrical endotherm kit game going. If I had to make a bet, it would be on the person who doesn't have endotherm kit because they have a bunch of attackers. But could be wrong. I guess the Immolites are not really like applying that much pressure. And obviously, like, if you can live until the turn when endotherm kit goes off, you're in okay shape. Although, like, I don't know. Frostbites against red-green are not that amazing. You could just force field them. And, like, you have some dead rhinos that your opponent isn't really doing much work killing off. So, yeah, if you do get a breach, it's not really going to be for very much. Like, in particular, it can't really be for more than 5 because that's like all you have in attack. So, yeah, I think I still favor main GI here. I don't know. He's not even really behind in attack, is he? The system, I mean. I guess a little. I'm glad I don't have to play this game. Oof, those Immolites are gonna hurt. You pretty much just force field hold all drones? Or what? Is that even enough? Sure, hold a Rhino, why not? I don't think you build another Rhino, I think you just hold all the drones. Or enough drones, which I think would be like 3, so you could still hold, you could still harvest 2. Maybe I wasn't watching. Maybe actually the opponent was losing a damage. No, they were gonna breach when they clicked the Smorkus, that's what it was. But I guess if you do that, it's like, kind of still hard to live. What's the deal here? Like, Red Rush, clearly, right? But, can we get a turn 2 Animus? That's not like normally a great Phage line, or a great Electivore line, but it might be the best Phage Electivore line. Otherwise, I think we just get clobbered by Fastimus, right? They get, like, Blood Phage and then Vor. I suppose the turn 3 Animus isn't a disaster, because you can get Phage Vor together. Whereas, like, if you just build an Animus, you're building a Phage and nothing. I feel like this is an opening I should learn. Oh, really? Opponent thinks... Wow. Okay. I mean... That's a thing. Is this so fast that I should just defend instead of... I don't know, it's hard to imagine, isn't it? Yikes. Like, you could go blue here, but you should get creamed, and likewise green. I think we need to go red. We can try to go for the higher econ red of, like, turn 3 Animus, but it's gonna be real hard to defend. I think I honestly have to do this. And just, like, Phage Vor him. Wait, Phage Vor is illegal. Phage Frostbite, I guess. I think Frostbite is good. It might be worse than Engineer, honestly. I feel like I've somehow gotten dragged down into the mud on this, where, like... This line feels unsound and should be punishable by base set, but I also don't know how to do that. So this Frostbite basically deletes an enemy like Rhino if you simplify by assuming that like breach equals death. And so I think that makes it better than building an Engineer. It's like 2 health instead of 1. Next turn I'll have to build something like Rhino Vor, but that should defend. Unless opponent builds 2 Vors? No, that wouldn't defend either because they'd be losing an NG. Okay. I don't think they can possibly threaten 3 damage next turn. I think that is actually impossible. In which case, my Rhino Vor does live. Does avoid being breached. I'm pretty sure it should be Rhino, not Shiver Yeti. I need some damage in order to make all this breach threat interesting. And the Frostbite's already threatening to freeze whatever their defender is, so adding another, like, oh, I'll freeze an Engineer or something is, like, wrong-headed, I think. Alright, they're gonna drone up. Oh, this does not work. Because they threaten to, and indeed probably will, click the Rhino. What if I were to build a Conduit instead? Or a Forge? He who has the walls makes the laws, right? I made that up. I hope you guys like it. Wall's pretty good. Yeah, I think owning a wall would be fantastic. And I can still spend stuff with my Blood Phage clicks. Barely. Maybe a Conduit's better. Like, Force Fields are good enough. And, you know, there's Gaps charges on the turns where I don't need that. Ugh, I feel terrible. I don't know. What if I'd gotten a wall? Would I be in okay shape? Or a Blast Forge? I don't think so. I think I needed to do something like this. So, like, if I need to, I can spend the Frostbite on freezing his NG and make him lose a Rhino, if things get that desperate. Obviously, I hope they don't. You never hope for things to be desperate. I could make this a Shiver Yeti, I guess. I don't think that's a good idea. Opponent has plenty of Engineers. I just feel quite losing now. But maybe the Conduit is going to be what turns the tide. I still feel, though, like I should have had some response other than turn 2 phage that should crush this, and I just don't understand what that response would have been. So alternatively, I could do something a little bit interesting. I could hold this Rhino, buy a Vor, right? That might be a little too greedy, but I need to get in some extra damage, I think. Oh, but clicking the Rhino is actually really good. Because it actually kills the damage, right? No, it doesn't. Okay, let's try this. Clicking the Rhino and freezing an Engineer would have, but that doesn't seem so great. Opponent droning up seems interesting. I don't totally get that. Maybe I should have done that instead of buying 2 NGs? I don't think so. Since I actually held a Rhino here, like, I have less tempo than I would have if I'd clicked it. And I think these Engineers to buy tempo are good. I don't really have time to figure that out in a 45-second game. Maybe it was a mistake, though. This Frostbite, I don't know. Is it bad? Like, it's too late now, of course. Has it done well is a question I'm interested in, and I don't really know the answer. I really appreciate being the only player with 2 damage per turn, though. Oh no, a phage! Ah! Disaster. Yeah, now I can get an NG. I have all this Rhino tempo saved up. Or a drone. I couldn't have cut 2 NGs last turn, as it happens. But I'll have 1 NG left to power the Vor, and to make me granular. And this drone is okay. I think better than a Gauss charge, but I don't honestly know for sure. How's opponent's Rhino supply? We both have 5-ish. I have 6, but, you know, neither of us is, like, running out. And there's always, of course, Shirietis to fill a similar role. I wouldn't be surprised to find that I can get a second Vor or a second Phage this turn. Yeah. Which one do I want? I could get, like, Vor Tarsier or something, but that's... No, I don't have enough NGs for that. So I think I just get another Phage and bop him with a Gauss charge. And then it's probably back to Rhinos because my tempo has run out. Well, has it? Probably. Shouldn't he click a rhino and buy like a rhino or something? Okay. Can this be a drone? Probably, since I have this rhino. This rhino, I mean, the one who's like gonna be defending next turn. Maybe this rhino should have been a Shiver Yeti. Like, we're starting to come under some serious pressure now. And adding 2 more threat instead of 1 would be a big deal, I think. So when I do this, opponent is losing guaranteed 1 attack. Possibly like 2 freeze instead. So this defends. And I want NGs. I always have this Frostbite click, like if I want to guarantee he loses something weird. But I don't think now is the moment for it. I feel like I must be behind though, right? Opponent has... Oh, that's right, he loses 2 damage this way. Because I turn off the Vor, and he has to lose an actual attacker. I was gonna say opponent has more attack, but actually they don't because they had to lose the Vor this way. Or depower the Vor. I think they should have kept the Vor online so they're more granular. Okay. How much are they losing here? 1 attack, or possibly 2 freeze. And that's the attack they were going to lose anyways, this Vor. So... Clicking the Shiver would allow me to choose what they lose a little bit more carefully, but, like, wouldn't this be better? I don't really care which of these you lose. Like, okay, yeah, I'd prefer that you lose the Rhino, but... Or that you keep that Rhino. But I can't really afford to click, I think. I'd really love to be able to freeze that engineer. I'll probably be able to, it looks like, yeah. So they're losing 2 damage this way. Means my Vor is firing. No, get out of here. Yeah, they lose at least 2 damage, so I guaranteed keep all the Vors going. I have Absorb on the Rhinos, I have this. That was a scary game. Still, but when he resigned, I didn't really know if I was winning. Apparently it felt worse for opponent than it did for me. Well, I guess we were both feeling quite bad, but my opponent's position apparently felt worse to my opponent than it did to me. So, like, let's start at the end of the game by analyzing this position. Like, why am I winning exactly? I mean, I guess it's because opponent's rhinos haven't been attacking for a long time. And so really they have 3 attack and I have 5. And I'm up 3 drones. Plus I have defensive tempo. Like, there's a lot of good things you can say about my position. I think mostly it actually comes down to defensive tempo in a way. Like, both my stack of NGs and rhinos and also my piles of freeze are defensive tempo of a sort. This is positive defensive tempo for me, and these are negative defensive tempo for the opponent. Because if you ignore those, like, it's actually pretty similar. Opponent has like 4 permanent attack and 2 temporary, and I have like 5 permanent and like a shivery hit, which is like sort of similar, right? And you know, in addition to that, I'm down 3 drones, so that, like, those numbers sort of sound like losing. I think really it's my defensive tempo and my freeze that put me ahead. That not that got me to be ahead, but those are the things you should measure to see that I'm ahead. Like, I don't know, what is opponent's turn? I have 3 freeze, right? Let's say they wanted to play on. What do? Not this. That's for sure. Like, this is the most you can defend while clicking everything. And it doesn't defend. Right, I'm threatening basically 9. So they can hold 1 thing back, let's say a rhino. I don't know. I'm like, this actually defends, but it doesn't feel great. Okay, let's say they do that. Is it worthwhile for me to click this? What does that do? I mean, it seems great, right? The force field is something you'd love to delete if you can. And it causes them to guaranteed lose 2 attackers, kind of. 2 of the units that would be attacking. In fact, only 1. Like, they could choose to lose both NGs, one of these 3, and absorb on the other, but then they're losing a Vor. So they have to lose 2 effective attackers, which means they have at most 4 + 4, or 5 + 2. It's not like that's easy for me to defend against, but this does it, right? And then do I even need this force field? Yeah, because I want the NG guaranteed. Feels a bit bad. Maybe I could do this in Gambit that they can't really click everything. That's pretty greedy. But, I mean, they couldn't click everything last turn. Why could they do it now? I mean, answer, because they're turning off a Vor if they do it. So, I don't know. We'll see. What does this look like? I think you'd prefer to lose the Rhino, or these 2 engineers are worth keeping, I guess, is what I'm getting at. Well, if they do this, hang on, I'm still defending. I'm still losing. I'm still keeping all the NGs, right? If they lose the damage, they have 5 + 2, which means I keep an NG plus the one I'm building. And if conversely, let's say they keep they keep all the freeze. I guess this is how you shut off my Vor, right? You keep all the freeze. But now I don't need the Vor anymore because you, like, aren't granular? I think? I mean, clearly they're not granular, but they could hold the drone, I guess. But I don't know. This doesn't seem so great because wouldn't you rather be doing damage than, like, turning off a Vor? I don't know. For one turn. I honestly wouldn't even be so sad about defending with the Vor. It's sort of like getting to hold back a Steel Splitter, kind of. I don't know. Not something you're happy to do, but when you have 4 drones, you know, defensive tempo is good. Okay, so I guess they were behind. Fine. I don't understand this opening. Like, I was thinking about a turn 2 Animus, but not because I think it's good, but rather because the turn 2 player 2 Animus is very good, and I wanted to undercut that. Like, we've talked before about if you wait for a good opening, you'll lose against an opponent who plays a pretty okay opening. And sometimes you should take a mediocre opening to undercut the pretty okay opening, right? You know, something like that. But I don't understand. I don't buy this. If there were a perforator in the set, maybe. I mean, and maybe would it? Like with perforator, I think you would actually just ignore Blood Phage on turn 1 or turn 2, and get like perf Vor, and then start buying phages. That seems actually pretty good. Because you don't have to waste any red. Yeah, I don't know. This bite that I never clicked actually did a pretty great job. It meant opponent was always had to hold back an extra Rhino, which I don't know. Maybe they should have gambited more against the Frostbite. Probably not. Because like my Frostbite always threatens to freeze their only Rhino, offering me, like if they have just one Rhino back, say they defend like this or something, like this. I threaten to freeze their Rhino and deny them absorb. Okay, let's make them maybe. Yeah, here, fine. Say they did something like this. I don't know if that's good. I just wanted to demonstrate. I can freeze Rhino and be attacking for 3, and in fact, they could even do this, couldn't they? Because if I chose to take the breach, all I would kill is a drone anyway. This way, I guess I can kill the Rhino by freezing the entity, but I don't think that's so great. So I don't know. I think a defense like this, once or twice throughout the game, could have been a winning play, or at any rate, an improvement. Offering me some value for my Frostbite, and in exchange, you don't have to keep defending against the Frostbite. Right? Suppose you play this turn. I don't know. Is it good? Who knows? But this is the kind of offer you might make against a Frostbite. You might say, "Come on in, kill a drone." He's not. You know, my opponent's not happy about it, but what can you do? You have to do something about the Frostbite. And now, like, defense is actually a lot more comfortable. Opponent can start buying good units instead of bad ones, and they'll have more tempo with these Rhinos coming out, right? I'm not playing either of our turns perfectly, like, terribly carefully, so I could be missing something here for sure for either of us. But what I'm getting at is like, okay, look, they offered a breach, and how bad is their position? I guess it's not great. because they're kind of having to hold a drone for granularity, which sucks. Maybe they could have improved that somehow on the previous turn. Like, yeah, this Blood Phage was just too greedy, right? It should have been Vor double NG. And now they can kind of do that for a little while. That NG might be like too conservative. I'm not sure. Yeah, you could float that and maybe like hope to buy something better next turn. Now I'm sort of like vulnerable if they attack for 2. But I guess they can't really do that. They could obviously hold a Vor and make me lose NG instead of Rhino, but I could just choose to lose the Rhino and say, haha, I'll pretend you attacked anyway, take that. And all my Vors are still on. But, like, their spot seems pretty okay here, doesn't it? I think you might actually hold the Vor here. Because the energy is actually useful. And say, okay, Alan, are you gonna turn off your Vor? Yeah, that's a cool little exploit. I thought it was a fake exploit because what's the point of holding back the Vor and giving your opponent this option? But actually, the point is it lets you get a Phage, and your opponent has to either lose 1 health, either pretend the Vor was attacking anyway, or lose an attack. Okay, cool. So, all I'm getting at here is, like, opponent has a lot more defensive tempo than they made it look like. If they just gambit against if they just gambit a little bit against against my Frostbite. Right, allowing that breach just once kills a drone, but it gives them back, like, a whole Rhino-ish. And allows them to build good attackers. They're still not necessarily winning here. Economies are similar, they have more permanent attack, but I have green. I don't know. Now's probably a good time for a Shiver Yeti, right? Yeah. I don't know, it's pretty spooky for me. I'm just not, like, really doing enough damage to work through this big horde of Rhinos. I guess this freeze doesn't do anything right now. It forced me to buy the force field, but you don't have to actually click the Yeti. Well, maybe you do. Oh yeah, because this turns off a Vor. Ouch. Maybe I should have force fielded? I don't know. Anyway, we're getting a bit lost in the weeds here. I'm just saying, like, reminding my opponent to gambit sometimes against Frostbites. If you let them get... if you always defend completely against a Frostbite, like, it's getting great value, right? This Frostbite cost me 2 in a red, and it cost my opponent 5 in a red. Because they always Like, well, it didn't really cost 5 in a red because they got to click their rhinos eventually, generally, right? They didn't have to spend a full stamina rhino on it. But it meant they were, like, slower cashing in their rhinos to hold. They held for defense when they could have clicked. And it eventually got, like, at least call it $4 worth of value because they were, like, they had 2 more defense than they would otherwise have needed. I don't know. Okay, enough about that frostbite. I think the other big decision point in this game was my conduit. And I do think that was better than a forge. And I also still think it was right to get more tech. But it's really tough because I don't like that I'm like having to hold a drone immediately after buying a conduit. Like, the point of buying a conduit is that you can force field instead of holding drones. But I was not granular, so like, what could I have done about that? I don't know. Could have waited a little while, I suppose, but force fields are good. And I think that is really what won the game, if anything. Well, clearly something won the game. I think if anything I did won the game, it was like buying conduits, because force fields are just so good when economies are small and attack numbers are small. They're good when breaching is imminent, which it always is in these low econ games, and eventually is in higher econ ones. I guess I got to sneak in a Vor before my opponent snuck in a Phage, which is kind of nice as well. I think I got that tempo out of my Frostbite, sort of. It must be a weird damage graph, right? I want to look at that, actually. Well, not all that weird, I guess. I just noticed some, like, strange gaps where attack numbers were, like, climbing and then dipping, and then we both started building up again. But we didn't actually, like, build up past where we had been before. Okay, kind of funny that, like, the damage numbers never got above 5. That's what happens in this low econ stuff. Alright, I guess that's enough talking about this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.